cosmos, with God, with anything that you would like to call it. So I'd like you to put your hands together and give a very warm and excited welcome to Reverend Joyanne.
Hi, I'm awake. So welcome to spring. I'm so excited. This week as I was walking around our beautiful town of Kamloops, I noticed that blossoms are starting to come out, that the sun is shining more, to the point where I actually had to wear my sunglasses. Anyone here wearing sunglasses yet? Yes, isn't it beautiful? I love every season, but most especially I love spring. The return of life after the long winter's snooze. I love it. So today's message is All is Made New, and I'll be sharing with you this morning the spiritual lessons of spring, of which there are three main ones. There are probably more than that, but I'll be sharing with you the three main spiritual lessons of spring. What could that be? All kinds of ideas. But before we begin, I want to give you the French version of April. I just found this out, and being a French Canadian, I know we have a mixture of many types from many countries, all of us, many I should say nationalities here. How many of you are French? Anyone else French? A couple of us? Okay. April, the word April means open in the Old French. Isn't that lovely? From the early French means to open. Now, how appropriate is that? It is the month that so many flowers open, trees are re-leafing, the little butterflies are coming out, and the bees are going to be visiting soon to navigate through our gardens and bless us with their pollen that they move around. So we are so blessed. There is such joy in actually seeing the season so clearly marked here, and I love that. It's opening us to a new beginning. Now, our founder taught us this. He used these two words to describe us here in Science of Mind. And we have centers all over the world. He said, we are open at the top. What does that mean, to be open at the top? It means that we are open to all paths. We honor all traditions, all religions, all people, all orientations. We honor all of life. And so we're open at the top to welcome, to embrace, to honor, to bless everyone. And that's, to me, the most important reason to be here, to love everyone, to be here and acknowledge the truth of who we truly are. We're also open to other parts of spring, like fresh breezes, opening to beauty, opening to love. Who's open to love? Love. All right. Lots of you are open to love. All right. Like that. Opening to new beginnings. Opening even to eggs. The little chicks peck from the inside out to open their egg, right? So think of April as open. Another word for open. When you hear that word during this month of April, it's open. That's what it means. So all is made new this time of year, and spring is for new beginnings. And each spring we see, what I've noticed is that which seemed to be dead or seemed to be lifeless is now coming forth with this life. What is that life? That is the life of infinite spirit or great spirit, and it is everywhere. It is inside of us. And it's always inside of us, even in winter. But when we see the evidence of that coming forth in new life, it is such a reminder to me of the infinite presence that is always renewing itself, that is always rebirthing itself through us and through our children. So each spring we see that which only a few weeks ago, just a couple of weeks ago, it snowed not too long ago, I remember. They announced it was spring, and then the next day it snowed. What's with that? So not too long ago, when we had that snow, I didn't see a lot of things blooming, but now all of a sudden it's just getting ready. So things are coming alive with new life. And this is a perfect time for us as well to renew ourselves, to recommit to our journey, to our path, and to our spiritual magnificence. And so not long ago, I noticed that the Beatles, now I've actually found a bug. Have any of you seen it? I mean, that's amazing, right? How many of you like bugs? How many of you love the bugs? How many of you don't like the bugs? I know they're all part of nature. So we have beetles that cracked open and became what? A beautiful, what do they become? Dragonflies. We have butterflies, like caterpillars and butterflies and blossoms and all these wonderful things. And even our bodies themselves are a river of intelligence. That every cell in our body, every single part of us is made out of that divine beingness. And therefore, every day, we have an opportunity to renew ourselves, to remind ourselves. And I love that. How many of you have heard of Dr. Bruce Lipton? Some of you. He wrote a book called The Biology of Belief. And this is what he taught. I love that book. I got a chance to spend some time with him in San Francisco. I think I shared that before. I sent him a thank you note. I read his book, and I just wrote it on the email. I emailed him a thank you note, and his secretary emailed me back and said he was so happy with your note that you're now invited to come and visit him, complimentary visit for a week in his workshop called The Biology of Belief. Wasn't that fun? So that's another reason why you want to send thank you notes. You get blessed in so many ways, right? And this is what he said. I want to tell you because it's so important. He says in his book, Biology of Belief, our thoughts activate changes in the activity of our cells and thus alter our health and our very life. Every molecule of our body is intelligent in its own way. Genes and receptors and stem cells and hormones all play key parts in our health and our well-being. Lastly, he goes on to say that it is the cell membrane, is the active intelligence in the cell. The membrane, the divine infrastructure, is within us. It's in every cell. It's in our DNA. It's in the cells of our body. It's in us, as us, and it's renewing us daily. So the very first lesson of spring, the very first lesson, I'm calling transformation. Transformation. So what is transformation? It means that we move above, beyond, and across where we were previously. We're always evolving, we're always learning, we're always growing, we're growing forward. That's a word that Ken coined for us. We're growing forward. And so nature shows us over and over and over this process of transformation. And our very bodies are literally an ocean of information and the divine in expression. So I love that. So the very first lesson that we look at is transformation. That every single spring, life itself, we are transformed. As we look at nature, how many of you really have yet to spend time in nature? How many of you are looking forward to spending some time in nature, going outside? Isn't that a great time? So the first lesson of spring, the spiritual lesson, is that all of life is transformed. The second lesson, spiritual lesson of spring, is called renewal. It's somewhat similar, but it's a little bit different. And I want to share with you a few of the ideas I came up with about spring. See if this fits for you. These are some of the ways that I'm being transformed as I embrace this time of year. Robin Williams, how many of you have heard of Robin Williams? He said this is his quote. He said, spring is nature's way of saying, wake up, it's party time. And these are some of the revelations, rejuvenation ways that I celebrate spring that I thought of this week as I began to do the very first one, is to open my window and allow the fresh air to come in. Anyone do that recently? Isn't that great? So I can also open all the windows of my car and feel the air. I can wear my favorite flip-flops again. My days of taking walks are back. Baby birds are chirping. Many baby birds are chirping and other baby animals. Flowers are blooming. Gardening gives me a peaceful mind. And I'm going to explore the greater area by going on some road trips. Haven't done that yet because it's been kind of icy and snowy. It's barbecue season. I love that. Green grass, I have missed you. It's sundress and short season again. I've had enough of my winter wardrobe. That's why I'm wearing the colors now of spring. The days are longer. I get to sleep with the windows open, as I mentioned. I love that. Beach walks are more fun. The aroma of freshly cut grass and blooming flowers can fill the air. Some call that allergies. I don't have allergies. Anyone here have allergies? A few of you? Okay, we're going to work on that. We're going to release that. Do you want to continue? We're going to let it all go. The sunny days allow for more time to break out our lawn chair. I don't have one yet. I'm going to go buy a lawn chair and put it in my patio area so I can sit, even though I don't have a lawn. It's okay. Hiking trails, watch out. Joanne's going to be hiking. Hello, spring. I am a girly girl. I love to wear high heels and sandals. Sexy sandals. See, I got some on today. I can stargaze without freezing. That's why I love spring. Spring brings us closer to summer. I get to do some spiritual spring cleaning. Now we're going to look at that next week. This is 10 ways to clear our consciousness and to allow this magnificence that who we truly be to express more powerfully. I love that. Finally, there are many new ways to spend our weekends when the weather's nice. And very lastly, it's the end of the polar vortex. For those who live on the East Coast, you've probably seen those pictures. This week they showed on TV, and you may have saw it, they had hail the size of your hand. Did you see that? That would make your windows break. That wouldn't feel too good if you went for a walk. So I am so grateful that spring is here, and this is time of renewal. It is also time when we celebrate Easter and the resurrection. And yes, I am creating something coming up in 2 weeks that I have never done before. And so while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to do an infomercial for you. An infomercial just gives you fun and delight, tells you about what's coming. So never in my life have I done an adult Easter egg hunt. An adult Easter egg hunt. You know, the fun is inside you. This is a commercial on TV. The fun is inside you, but you have to let it out. You have to let your fun out. So, this is Cowabunga. Can you hear him? Okay. And Cowabunga is part of our Easter egg hunt. He's wearing his earring. See? And Cowabunga I want to show you what Cowabunga does. This is either a stuffed animal or it becomes a pillow. So he can fly. Isn't that great? So I love Cowabunga, and he is just one of the many, many gifts and toys and delights waiting for all of you adults. And we're going to do that right after the service on Easter Sunday. We'll have a wonderful celebration, and then immediately following, there will be a massive Easter egg hunt for adults. But not to worry, the children will be having theirs while we're in here. So they'll have their own. But I'm going to be hiding things. There's going to be some things under your seats, like Oprah. Right? How many of you remember Oprah? She said, look under your seat and you have all these presents. So we're going to have the most fun, and it's up to you, though, to let your fun out. And I promise you that we will have chocolate.
Thank you, Joanne.
You're welcome. Just got to have your chocolate. In fact, why don't you come up? You lost his earring. Oh no. Put his earring back. Why don't you come up and we'll get you started with some chocolate already.
Just a sec. I gotta straighten up my skirt, let a little bit of fat roll around.
There you go, sweetheart. Chocolate for you. There you go. Okay, so make sure you get your fun out. You allow your fun to come out, and we're going to do that on Easter. Wonderful, wonderful. So Science of Mind teaches us that every person, every single being aspires to their divinity. We all want to understand the truth of our being. We all want to live that. We want to create the most fabulous, next greatest, grandest version of ourselves. So what could be new? What would you like to newly aspire to this spring? We have transformation, we have renewal. What new thing would you like to create for your life? Something entirely new. What could that be? The Science of Mind not only emphasizes this idea of newness, but it also emphasizes the unity of all life, that we are connected to plants and animals, the four-leggeds, the two-leggeds, the birds, the bees, the flowers, the trees, but to all of life on our planet. The whole planet is collectively awakening to its spiritual magnificence, that divine essence of our being. And the third and most important principle I'm going to share with you now. And this is called our spiritual destiny. Our spiritual destiny. You and I have to decide, we have to choose, and we've been given the gift to choose what it will be the pattern for our lives. Are you going to choose to be a magnificent truth of your being? Are you going to express your greatness? Or are you going to choose to continue to struggle? Anyone want some struggle? Some poverty, some illness? Those are the things that many people on our planet really are challenged with. And so for us, we choose something differently. We choose greatness. Our most important principle is not only to remain open to transform our lives and to renew ourselves, but to be awake and to be aware. And Dr. Holmes, that was one of the greatest challenges he offered us, is to keep ourselves in that place of awareness. And we choose life by consistently choosing a new perspective. And the principle is to remember that Great Spirit, this infinite presence of life itself, is right here inside of us, nearer than breathing and closer than hands and feet. With every breath and heartbeat, we choose to become more aware. It's like the soprano. How many of you like to sing? Think of the soprano who can hold a note to go, ah, and she'll break a glass, right? Have you ever seen that? They actually should have a glass, and the soprano will go, ah, and it'll break, right? How powerful is that? And applying that same truth to us, if we know the truth of our being, if we choose that principle, then we literally hold that truth and become that truth for our own experience and own life here on planet Earth. We become aware and we become awake, and just being fully aware and fully awake and enjoying every moment of life, you add to the collective blessing. You uplift. You don't have to go, it's not really about going and doing something, but about being that, about living as that, about celebrating that, about enjoying life. And so we can do that. And I believe my whole philosophy this month, especially in April, is to have great love, incredible joy, boundless abundance, and complete inner peace. One of my congregational members where I used to serve told me that she thought of me, she called me a bliss bunny. A bliss bunny. I don't have any ears. I mean, I do, but not bunny ears. But yeah, so what is that like? What does it mean to live your bliss? To live your bliss. What would that look like for you? In every moment to choose to experience joy, to choose inner peace, to express boundless abundance. And I'll be sharing with you in just a little bit an opportunity we have here at the center to do just that, to experience that great abundance. So this month is the perfect time to step up and embrace the consciousness of the one life that is God, to open, to rise again, to transcend, ascend and transcend, and to move above and beyond wherever we were before. So winter is now gone, and we are looking forward We are growing forward into this whole new time. Dr. Holmes said it this way: our individual universe is forever complete and yet forever completing itself in order that every experience may teach us to transcend some previous way of life. So what previous way of life are you willing now, today, to commit to transcending? For me, what I did this week is I've been wanting to exercise. So I went to Zumba, and I'm still alive. That was pretty good. So I committed to a new way of life by really working out more than I have been. I love to walk and I love to dance, but how many of you have done Zumba? A few of you. Well, you know it's very fast. You're like this. You know, really, it's amazingly fast, and you know you have to pay lots of attention. So I did that Saturday, and then I kind of went home. But I wanted, the more that you exercise, the better it gets. This is from Abraham Hicks. The better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets. So what would you like to create in your spring? What are you willing to spring forward? What are you willing to transcend? What are you willing to renew? To recommit your life to your spiritual journey, to be the best that you can be in every area, in health and wellness, prosperity, abundance, fun. It's very important. I have a sharing that I love, and this is from, some of you may have heard of Thomas Troward. How many of you know who he is? He's one of the great older teachers. He lived in about 1847. He wrote these words, teaching us how to literally shift our life. And I'm going to share with you because I love his words. He's one of the greatest metaphysicians that ever lived, and this is what he said. He said, it is on the word purpose that we must fix our whole attention. And instead of dissipating our energies, we must follow an intelligent method of centering. This means being gathered up at the center. And the center of anything is that point in which all of the forces are equally balanced. Think about that. All of the forces are equally balanced. To concentrate, therefore, means first to bring our minds into a condition of equilibrium, which will enable us to consciously direct the flow of spirit. We are conscious creators. We're here to create and direct the flow of spirit in a definitely recognized purpose, and then to watch our thoughts, because our thoughts create, or as Ernest Holmes says, your words fall from your mouth and they become the clothes that you wear. It's really that simple. So here are some ways to do that. It's truly simple, but not necessarily easy. So this is the way to be made new during this time of year. To know that Spirit or God or Great Spirit or the Infinite or Buddha or whatever name you want to call it is truly the substance of all things. That God is the consciousness of all, the Creator. That we are one with the great mind of God. That we are given complete free choice, free will, to choose our thoughts and create new thoughts and create new conditions, the time of newness, the time of spring. Our life is a reflection in form of our own consciousness. And our consciousness is ever out picturing itself in conditions in our lives. If we want to change our lives, we have to change our thoughts. You've heard that before. Change your thinking, change your life. Right? We must do that. To be made new, we must declare a new good for ourselves. Who is ready to create a new good for themselves? Who wants to do that? Anybody? We want to create a new good, a new prosperity, a new health, better health, right? More fun, more joy, more peace, harmony, abundance, all the blessings of spirit. We must constantly watch our thoughts. Why? Because our own consciousness is constantly at work creating. We must choose and focus on the good that we desire, and especially as we go forward into this time of year. So this is not complicated. Loving thoughts create a loving world. Abundant thoughts create an abundant world. Peaceful thoughts create a peaceful world, and so on. The one last thing I will add today is this. It is imperative to assume the feeling of the desires that you choose. So if you want wellness, I would invite you to feel as though it is already an accomplished fact. If you want abundance, feel as though you are already right now and always abundant. For love, to feel the love and know to be in love. Walk around like you are madly, passionately in love with life. And that love will be returned to you multiplied. Because your faith and your belief is your fortune. So I'm going to close today with a story. This is a true story. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and really receive this story, which is a true story about renewal, transformation, and knowing the truth of one's being. I'm going to ask for some music. And I want you to really hear these beautiful words of this true story. So I invite you this morning to transport yourself to Australia, that beautiful land down under. For years ago, there was a man and his family that lived in Australia. They were centuries and centuries in Australia. They were Australian. And part of this man's family was a young, stunning athlete who had great aspirations for his life. This young fellow, biding his time until the perfect job, or even one as a stagehand, came along, he worked at the local shipyard. While walking home one evening, this young man was shanghaied by 5 men who wanted his money. And instead of just giving them his money, the young man resisted. However, they decided to teach him a lesson, and they began to push and shove him around. And they took his money, and they proceeded to beat him. And then they left him by the side of the road. When the police happened to find this young man lying on the side of the road, they could not find a pulse. So they assumed he was dead, and they called for the morgue. And in Australia, the morgue comes and picks you up. So on the way to the morgue, though, the driver heard a gasp for air from the young man, and they immediately took him to the emergency room at the hospital. When he was placed on a gurney, a nurse found to her horror that this young man was so beat up that he no longer had a normal face. The nurse could not even recognize him. And although his life was spared, he spent an entire year in the hospital. And when he finally left, his body was healed, but his face was so disfigured. He was no longer the handsome, young, stunning athlete that everyone admired. When the young man started to look for work again, everyone turned him down. They turned away because of his face. Everyone rejected him, and no one wanted to be seen in his company. Then one day he passed a church and sought some solstice there. And entering the church, he encountered a priest who had saw him sitting in the front pew, sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. The priest had compassion and took him in, where they talked at length. The priest was so impressed with this young man to such a degree that he said he would do everything he could to help him, to restore his dignity and his life. He admired this young man. The young man began to attend church and found a loving spiritual community there. He thanked God for saving his life, and he asked God to only give him peace of mind and the grace to be the best man that he could be. The priest, through his personal contacts, was able to secure the services of Australia's best plastic surgeon. There would be no cost to the young man, as the doctor was the priest's best friend. The doctor, too, was so impressed by the young man, whose new outlook on life became beautiful, even though he had experienced the worst and was filled with humor and love now. The surgery was a miraculous success. And soon the young man was able to find work. And he met and fell in love with a woman. They got married and were blessed with 8 children. And it was the goodness of God and the love of the people who cared for him that gave him his life. For all was made new. And if this can happen to this young man, our own problems pale. So renewal is any day when we transcend our own challenges, are also called opportunities in life, lifting us out of death and darkness and despair. The power of the life of God is always flowing through us and from us and is us always. We must not only be willing to move away the stones from the front of the tombs of our past, but we must also find motivation and excitement in the joy of living again, to resurrect our lives and our consciousness. And to sum this all up for today, April is the month to open our hearts to new and ever-expanding goodness, to the blessings of infinite spirit. The spiritual lessons are to open, to transform, to be the transformers, to renew and to know the truth of our being, that all is made new as we realize the most important principle, that we are magnificent, divine beings. The science of mind, following the teaching of Jesus, teaches that every person is divine, since we are all incarnations of the one life that is spirit, and that indwelling spirit is God. And so with that knowing, I just take a moment this morning to recognize that there is truly only one infinite and loving presence, one power, one life, one essence, one truth that I call God, but it is known by many names, by Jesus or Buddha, Yahweh, Great Spirit, and that this Great Spirit is everywhere powerfully present. It is in every cell, every fiber of our being, within and all around us. It is in nature, in the beautiful flowers that are now just about to come forward and bless and open. And as we observe the opening of flowers, let us all open our hearts to creating the best, most grandest, most magnificent version of us that's yet to be. That we are here together as co-creators to expand, to grow, and to be. And we have to let our fun out. We are here on planet Earth to be in joy, to allow ourselves to fully express our divinity in every way, in abundance, in health, in love, in harmony, in wholeness, all the blessings of life. And so today I just say thank you, today and every day. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Infinite Spirit. Thank you, life. Thank you, God. As I release the words, as I release this word of spirit into the law of mind, knowing it is done, it is complete. And with that in mind, we say together, and so it is.